Welcome to another showing of Company Good. We're here on location at the Graffiti Grill, which is located on 176 just east of Route 43. Dan Rogers, the owner, has been kind enough to host our cooking show today, and we're going to make meatloaf, but in a special way. Let's go over and start cooking right now. We're going to come over now and start to make our meatloaf. Now, traditionally, meatloaf is made with a combination of ground beef, ground pork, and ground veal. But in today's recipe, we are going to substitute the veal and we are going to use ground turkey. Now, when we give you these different recipes, they're intended, my intent, is for them to be used as a set of general guidelines. You can adjust and make this meal and tweak it any way that really suits your palate. I have made this recipe before with ground chicken and ground turkey and ground beef. There's just, you're only really limited by your imagination. Now over here you see the ground pork, over here you see the ground turkey, and this is the ground beef. Now if you are going to interest a young person in the fun of cooking, this is an excellent recipe to start off with because it's very hands-on and it's a job that you can give the children and it's not going to hurt them. So what we're going to start off with first, what gets added to the meat mixture is first we're going to mix it. So I'm, like I said, very, very hands-on. And just take and just mix these three different kinds of meats together. And because remember, this is going to be a loaf. Now, if this was my wife, she hates to get her hands in the food. And can you make this with a spoon? Sure, you could, but it's really better to do this. And this is why I say it's fun for the children to get involved in this, because they just love to get their hands in here and mush this all around. All right, once you have that all mixed pretty good together there, take my towel and wipe my hands off. All right, now we're taking a look to see what goes inside this meatloaf, at least to start off with. We have some green pepper, we have some chopped up onion, there's going to be a little sea salt that's in there, 2 eggs, and then in the center, once we have this mixture all mixed together, we're going to flatten this out to make it almost look like a big hamburger, and then we're going to put 3 different types of cheeses in there and load it up and get it ready for the grill, or actually for the oven. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the green pepper, we're going to put that in there, then we're going to take the onion, onion gets put in there, a little sprinkle of sea salt, 2 eggs, and that's about as fancy as I can get with the eggs for cooking. And then I found out with the V8 juice, this small can is absolutely all you need. All pre-made and measured, and it's plenty. And we add that in there. Now we're going to go over to the base of the blender and we're going to pulse this until we mix everything all together. As you can see, that doesn't take a long period of time. It's all mixed together, and now we're going to add that to the meat mixture. And once again, Tom, you're going to want to come in here and take a look at this. And honest, it looks like a big soupy mess, but I want to get this a little mixed ahead of time here. And then once you do that, I'm going to run over there and just rinse my hands in the sink. And we are going to add the breadcrumbs. Now, I don't know when the last time you went to the store. There are so many different types of breadcrumbs that you can use. And once again, you're only limited by your own imagination or what you like to taste. These happen to be some seasoned breadcrumbs, which are seasoned roasted garlic and savory spices. You'll see in the recipe that I have that calls for garlic, but I found that the garlic that's already in these seasoned breadcrumbs are plenty. So we are going to add the breadcrumbs. And that's another thing too. If you get in here and this is too soupy, all you have to do is just add some more breadcrumbs and it's going to dry it up for you. So we will do that. And I'll show you the consistency once we get this all done. And like I said, as far as children helping you in the kitchen, especially with this recipe, they're going to love doing this. Probably one of the few times that they can get all sloppy and messy and you're not going to yell at them. Now I want everybody to take a look at this. You see how the consistency is starting to come together. Easier to work with. It's not the soupiness has lost. The breadcrumbs have soaked up a lot of that liquid. In fact, I think I'd even like to add a little bit more in this particular case. And you can tell when this has been soaked in there, when the breadcrumbs are in there, and you don't get that gritty feeling like sand anymore. You'll know that it's mixed properly enough. Now for this next step that we're going to get involved in, we need some wax paper to put down on top of the cooking board. And the reason is because we're going to take that meat, we're going to flatten it out like a giant hamburger, because we're going to put the cheese stuffing in the center. Okay, right now we're going to take the wax paper and we're going to put it as a covering over the cooking board, actually the preparation board. The reason why we do that is because this can be kind of sticky, and if you don't put the wax paper down, you could end up with a real big mess. Now, what we're going to do is take this meat mixture, which we've kneaded all together, and as I said, we're going to flatten this out like a big hamburger. Now, if you're going to put this meatloaf in a prefixed pan, of course, you're going to be conscious of how much of this meat you're going to do. A lot of people don't use a pan, they freeform it. And that's also a good way to do it. When I already have one that's cooked, and when I bring that out, that will already be in a pan. But we're going to show you this one, how to freeform it. That meat all out there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to stuff it with 3 kinds of Italian cheeses. So the first one we're going to use is a shredded mozzarella. And you want to get this right down in the center of this loaf. Not quite to the end, because we're going to be folding this all together when we're done. And now with the cheese, once again, it's what you like. If you like a lot of cheese, load it up. Just don't put too much, because you don't want it oozing out from the loaf as you're going. Now our second cheese is a shredded Romano. And when this cooks on the inside, all these 3 cheeses are all going to mix together, and you're going to be just amazed at the wonderful flavor that you're going to get. I happen to like a lot of cheese, and so does most everybody else in my family. So I kind of load it up. And a third cheese is a shredded Parmesan. And once again, a sprinkling on the inside. Now, once you have that like that, what you're going to do is we're going to close this all together. So very delicately, we're going to start to pull this all together. From the sides, from this way. And this is why I say, when you see this, what you're doing here is sealing this all up, and that's why you don't want it too soupy. Otherwise, it won't be able to work with it. And you're going to find that we're going to seal this all up. And I'm even going to move the board around this way where you can see this and push it all together. Once again, wonderful, wonderful hands-on recipe. You got a big family, well, this is the way to go. This is, incidentally, is about 3 pounds of meat. 1 pound of each one of the 3 that I had said. Pound of the pork, pound of the ground beef, and a pound of the turkey. Now, as I said, when you're freeform like this, this is just about ready to go. And to be put on a sheet and pop that in the oven. Now, depending on the size of your meatloaf, if you use the recipe, the average one like that, it's going to take between an hour and an hour and a half at 350 degrees. So we had put one in earlier, and like I said, it's in the pan, but pretty much this is the way to go. A traditional way to do it is to put ketchup over the top of this, but not until about the last half hour of the cooking time for the meatloaf. If you don't like it, you don't have to put it on. And an easy way to watch and see how this gets, it'll get crusty and a nice golden brown on the top. And then you'll be ready to go with that. All right, this meatloaf is ready to be put on the baking sheet and cooked in the oven. So we're going to use this. This has already been wiped down with a little oil because we don't want it to stick, of course. And so we are going to slide this meatloaf. It doesn't matter if you flip it over, it's okay. Get rid of that. And we are just going to make some changes to make sure that it's the right look that we want. And incidentally, you can tell when it's the right consistency because, as you can tell, it's really not coming off on my hands anymore. So it's doing its work. So now, as I said before, this is a pretty good sized loaf. This will probably take about an hour and a half total cooking time in the oven. So we're going to take this and we're going to go slide it over right now. We are now ready to plate the meatloaf and finish it off with the sides. And for the sides today, what we've just chosen are some new boiled smashed potatoes. Now, as you can see, you don't have to hit, well, you don't want to do that. Fancy plate can be kind of slippery. Just to smash those up like that. Take a fork. Appearances are important. And what we're going to do is put a couple of pats of butter on there. And then we're going to take our meatloaf and we've also decided to have a little coleslaw with that. Now to top it off, I've got a tomato basil sauce, which I just put in this squeezy bottle just to make everything a little bit easier. And there, ladies and gentlemen, you have my Meatloaf Supreme. All right, but we're not finished, and we want to know what this tastes like. So we're going to invite Dan Rogers, the owner of the Graffiti Grill, to come and sample and taste this. Dan?
Carl.
Hi, Dan. There, I'll give you the honors, a knife and a fork. You take a taste of that, and you let me know how you like that.
Really moist. Cheese is real nice in there, and the sauce is different than having a ketchup on there. Adds some real nice flavor versus your basic meatloaf.
We were going to let one of the other workers here have a taste, but I think Dan's doing a pretty good job on it right now himself.
Excellent. Great recipe. Very good.
Okay.
Outstanding job.
Thank you. Now, in the last program that we had, we also had a wine pairing for those people who'd like a glass of wine with this. We don't have Chris with us today, but a little research and what would go well with this would be a nice Cabernet. So, as I'll bring this out front, another close look for everybody, and I'm going to turn this meatloaf sideways here so you can take a look and see the cheese that's still in the center of that. And as we like to say on the program, Company Good, if it's worth your time to make a meal, it's worth your time to make it company good. Thanks for watching. I might have a taste of this myself. He's right, it is good.